So I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to do something slightly different. I'm going to share with you four, I don't like calling them secrets, but if you like, the four biggest discoveries I've made about the importance of coaching and what to look for in a coach and when you're being a coach. And then what we will do is we'll do a coaching session together. I will actually coach you to achieve literally anything you want in your life. Would that be useful for you? Yeah. Great. This half thought it's useful. We'll find a breakout session for this half. The first thing about coaching for me is I believe that to be in a formal coaching situation in a business environment, I think somebody has to have had some experience of actually being there and doing it. Now, you may not agree, which is fine. There's a lot of academics and gurus and everyone out there doing lots of coaching, and if that works for you, that's fine. I'm not in any way sort of saying these people aren't good. I'm just saying that I think that if you are going to have a business coaching session with people, it's pretty important to know that they've been there and they've taken the hard knocks, in my opinion. One of the first coaches I met was an academic coach, and he was going on and on about knowledge management to me, which is another exciting thing. And he said, knowledge management this, knowledge management that. And after the first session, I sort of plucked up the courage to sort of ask him, what do you mean by knowledge management? And he said, what I mean by knowledge management, David, is the management of knowledge. I'm serious here. I think that if you're looking for somebody to coach you, your projects or your teams, I would look for somebody who's made mistakes, particularly made mistakes, and admits up to those mistakes. I was recently recruiting for a project coach for BP, one of their biggest global projects, and I was interviewing the three candidates who had made it to the final stage. And when I asked them about the biggest mistake they've made, the first two candidates were very quick in saying, well, this mistake happened and I sorted it out, which is a standard interview advice technique. The third one said, I've made more mistakes than I've had successes, and basically went through, I mean, there are extremes, but it sounded to me as if the person had scars down their back and they became the coach. The second thing I would say, and I think in many ways this is the most powerful of the four, is with coaching, I think it's very important to know where the power lies. Now, what I mean by that is that I think there's too many coaches, there's too many authors, there's too many gurus, there's too many speakers who will stand up and say, you know what? I've discovered some stuff that you haven't. But you've come here for the afternoon, which is to your luck and joy, not mine, because I'm just here, because I've been told to. And basically, I've discovered all this stuff, and I'm going to share it with you. And if you put in practice 10% of what I say, you'll become a better person. What absolute rubbish. What do I know about leadership or coaching that you don't know or haven't done? Absolutely nothing. The place of power has to be with the person being coached, not with the person doing the coaching, every time. And what I mean by that is that there are many coaches who, and again, if you're using one of these coaches or you are one of these coaches, fine, I'm only giving you my views. So, for example, has anyone heard of NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming? Yep. The science of rapport. I always find it slightly strange that the two founders haven't spoken to each other for 8 years. But that aside, if you have a challenge and you go and see an NLP coach, guess what? They will use NLP techniques on you. And that's fine as far as it goes. What if suddenly you need something that's different? If you go and see if you go and see a counselor, they will counsel you, which is fair enough. If you go and see a hypnotist, somebody phoned me up last week and they said, David, I'm not very happy. I went to see a coach who was a hypnotherapist, and guess what? And I said, they hypnotized you? And he said, yes. I didn't expect that, he said. Well, the place of power has to be with the person being coached. So please, as a coach, and you all coach in your lives, you all coach in the corporate environment, you coach at home, you coach each other, you coach yourself, and if you're an executive coach, have a kit bag that basically is ready to respond to whatever the issue that comes up is. So, for example, in business coaching, I was just reading on the web this a couple of days ago, and it said, the importance of business coaching is that coaching only takes place on business issues. Well, you're rather stuffed if you're coaching a chief executive, as I was the other day, and after about 3 minutes, he said, actually, you know what? I'm really lonely, and my wife and I have fallen out of love. Now, that wasn't a very appropriate moment to say, I'm sorry, I have to stop you there. Because we're talking about Prince too. However, I know some people who might be able to help you. You know what I mean. Have the kit bag to basically make sure that when you come to something, you're ready to help them. The third of the four, and then we'll start the coaching. The third of the four is what I call the moments of... Actually, no, sorry, do you mind? Has anyone here done timeline therapy? Great. Can I have your cards afterwards, because I need a session? Okay, because I've had a bit of a problem, because I had a timeline session, okay? And it didn't go too well, and I'm sure it was entirely my fault. But a timeline is basically where, correct me if I'm wrong, you help somebody sort of map out the future and perhaps their past, across a line, and it's quite a deep emotional experience. And it finished, and it was all very successful. And half an hour after the coach left, she phoned me up, and I picked the phone up in my kitchen. I said, hello, and she said, oh, it's a terrible problem. I've left you in 1974. I immediately thought of Life on Mars, whatever it was. No, I'm not. Please, I'm not. She wanted to just close it in that way, but I didn't fully understand what that was about. However, it didn't work for me. The third part is what I call moments of truth. And this is so critical. Have any of you got children? Yeah. That's little people in the same house, perhaps? Yeah, hang on. Oh, I'll be very late there. How many have you got? You got two. How old are they?
12 and 10.
Slipped your mind. Thank you. You know how children get straight to the point? They don't sort of, beat around the bush, do they? They just say, this is what I want now. You know, Olivia, our daughter, I want an ice cream, Dad. No, we're having lunch in an hour. I want an ice cream, Dad. No, we're having lunch in an hour. I want an ice cream, Dad. Okay, don't tell your mum. So they don't sort of skirt around issues. And this is what I call moments of truth. And if when you're in a formal or an informal or just a discussion stage with somebody in your team and you sense a moment of truth, that is the most powerful thing. That's the most powerful moment, and what you do next is absolutely key. It's absolutely critical in terms of helping that particular person. I had such a moment of truth with BP. I was very fortunate to be with them. Very fortunate, that sounds terrible. I happened to be with them the day Lord Brown resigned, and it wasn't the happiest day. And if you know the circumstances around it, it was an absolutely terrible occasion. And I was there basically coaching the board in something completely different. And that is a moment of truth for an organisation, and your organisation will have moments of truth as well. And the more you can identify those moments of truth and make them happen and have an intervention at that time, the difference you can make is extraordinary. And finally, I say skills and knowledge transfer. If you feel you have coaching skills, or you're an executive coach or inside or outside your organisation, the more you can transfer those skills, the more you can help other people, not just in terms of helping them in terms of what they do, in terms of how they do it as well. That will be very, very powerful.